What's up guys, it's Klex, and today we're going to go over 50 quick pro tips that will make you a better Cold War player instantly. For tip number 1, use tacticals as a way to check where people are, or sort of like a tool to get intel on the enemy. So those would be things like grenades, flashbangs, stuns, all those kinds of things are good to throw around the map and get intel on where the enemy is. Tip number 2, line up your crosshair where you think the enemy is going to be. This is called centering, and you get better at this when you gain more knowledge of the map you're playing. So basically, always point the middle dot on the screen where you think the enemy is going to be, so you can just aim in and kill that guy. Tip number 3, lower your sensitivity. For example, mine, pretty much all the pro players I've seen, they play at 6.6 or 5.5. with the ADS of 1. If you wanted to play at a higher level, there's no doubt in my mind that you should play at this sense, and by the way, use the ADS of 1. Tip number 4, if you know where an enemy is by a callout or you just know, try pre-firing instead of trusting your reaction time when the guy appears in certain situations. Tip number 5, learn how to YY or on the PS4 triangle, because it can cancel the reload animation, gives you that 1 second or so, maybe even less, sometimes needed in this game of Call of Duty that is mere milliseconds sometimes to get the kill. Tip number 6, if communicating to teammates, keep track of who is alive or dead in respawn so you know who's coming off spawn and or is still in that general area that should have been called out when they were first seen. Speaking of communication, continuing it on for tip number 7, let your teammates know what you're doing to help them. Example, tell them what you're watching so they can watch something else. And tip number 8, call out people's gamer tags in quicker ways to leave more room in the comms for more vital information. Number 9, let your teammates know when you're close to streaks so they can possibly bait for you and give you easier kills so you can be in a more favorable situation to get those score streaks. Call out where you spawn, as this will help your team gain knowledge as to where the enemy may be now spawning. That's tip number 10. Tip number 11, learn callouts using my callout series if you haven't done so already, that I have on my channel, so you can communicate where the enemy is on the map, of course. And then once you watch all those videos, watch aids, watch scrims, get some reps in on understanding the callouts for every map that is in the rotation. Tip number 12, if you know what needs to be pushed in hardpoint, communicate that with your team, what exactly your team should be focused on to get favorable spawns for each hardpoint. And that goes as well for S&D and control. Tip number 13, call out if spawns have flipped if you know that for sure, so your team knows to switch their focus and be prepared to get the cuts on the map that they should now have focus on, because the spawns have obviously changed. Tip number 14, onto some gun skill. Use recoil control on your guns by pushing down slightly to control the recoil, as that is the average recoil on all the guns of Call of Duty. What you also do though is push down, like I said, and then slightly a bit to the left. If you like a video explaining that in more detail, I'd recommend Apathy's video on recoil control. Tip number 15, if you're playing on PS4, flip the shooting buttons to R1. Basically, switch the button that is the kind of thing similar to the trigger into that little bumper kind of thing on the controller. So you shoot faster and aim in COD, as I said before. This game is all about milliseconds sometimes, so using this will save you on time aiming in and shooting. Tip number 16, learn how to camera in Cold War. By cameraing, I mean you catch the enemy highly off guard by either sliding or jumping around an area in which the enemy can't see you and is caught off guard, like I said. The way the game works, you're at an advantage because in doing this, you see them a lot sooner basically than the enemy sees you. And then another form of movement similar to cameraing is shouldering. As the name says it, this is basically slowly peeking a doorway, for example, and then moving behind the wall. So you use your character's shoulder and move behind the wall quickly, and in doing this, you're able to see them and gain intel on where the enemy may be without dying. And this can be used in every game mode, obviously. Tip number 18, a basic tip but a big one would be to not challenge a gunfight when you're down in health. I stress this for Cold War because of how high the health is in this game. If you challenge someone who has a full health advantage, you're really putting yourself at a big disadvantage if you're hurt and shooting them. So try to regain health and then challenge if possible. Switching to S&D, you always want to be in a scenario where if you go down, you are going to be traded by one of your teammates. I know this sounds simple, but this is what you usually see go wrong when either a choke, or I guess you can say from the other side, a clutch happens. The team was in a favorable position and didn't use their man advantage well. Tip number 20, slow down in S&D and don't give up your life easily. As in pro play, the focus of the start of the map usually is to get a pick with a sniper, and picks usually happen when players are getting too aggressive too quickly. Tip number 21, make it hard for your opponent to kill you. Use head glitches, camera, shoulder, like I said. Just basically keep on doing crazy ass shit that's unpredictable, keep the enemy off guard and make you a harder kill to get on the map. Tip number 22, don't ego child, especially if you're not the guy on the thumbnail that is Dashy or any pro. I've said it in my videos before, when you get into gunfights, be sure you are in the favorable position in that scenario. Tip number 23, take routes on the map when rotating in which you have more cover around you, so you have less of a chance of dying. 24, call out if you made an enemy weak and exactly who that person is. 25, coordinate when and where and what you want to push up and take control of in hardpoint or control. Tip number 26, call out when you're going to use a trophy so your teammate doesn't use a second one when it's not necessary to. Next one, for 27, you can't knife or melee in this game, so do this instead. It's called the shot punch. Basically shoot with just one bullet and then punch the enemy, and this way you can melee somebody in just one go. 30, one on top of a ledge, slide over it so you can get a boost. Basically move faster. Try it and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. So basically you sprint, and when you're on top of a ledge, hold the right analog stick and you'll be boosted further, like Sonic I guess or some shit, you know. Tip number 31, warm up in bot lobbies every day before you get into some serious matches. I'd recommend getting maybe 100 to 200 bots to get your shot up, as you'll get some kill reps in that way. I normally recommend playing pubs to warm up, but due to SBMM or skill-based matchmaking, you know how sweaty it gets in, so if you don't warm up your shot, you're gonna get mollywopped in pubs. So yeah, warm up with the bots, then play pubs, and then you're ready to play competitive. Tip 32, when mantling or climbing over someone, if you see an enemy, you're cameraing them, so shoot at the same time when mantling something and you'll have the advantage for that said gunfight. Number 33, consider playing claw so you can slide and jump while being able to control your aim at the same time. You can either do that by a scuff or a cheaper alternative, like I think it was called a beaver controller as well, so look into that stuff. That will definitely boost up your game. But I have another tip for you to buy. This would probably be the second thing I recommend for you to buy. First thing is coming up in later on tips. So in another scenario of movements, if you see stairs, slide downstairs in this game instead of running down them, as this will give you a speed boost as well. Tip number 35, strafe, meaning move while aiming down. That's what that means. And shooting at somebody. This will make you a hard person to kill, thus boosting your game. Quick things that I cannot teach in this video, obviously, and maybe I won't bring to the channel because there's so many channels doing it already. Learn nade spots for S&D, that's tip number 36, and learn lines of sight for S&D as well, that's 37. 38, talking about field of view, which is a brand new thing, at least in consoles, for Call of Duty. So you would want to try then field of view of 90 to 100, test it out and see what you're most comfortable with and play best using. 39, learn to slide cancel to catch people off guard. Just quickly going over this, how to do it. Sprint fully, double slide, so slide, then jump and aim down sight. I'd recommend watching Octane's video on how to do this, but quickly saying it again on how to do it. You're going to want to sprint, then slide again, then jump and aim it. That's quickly how to slide cancel. And then speaking of sliding, don't slide if you think you're going to be heard by somebody, as this is so loud and you're going to be easily sound hoard. So 41, when going up to head glitches, slide cancel up to them. It's pretty basic, and you'll get a very, very big advantage in those situations because you get the head glitch, your little head is there, and you slid it to them, and yep, you're gonna probably shit on that guy. So definitely do that. Slide cancel up to head glitches. Tip number 42, rotate to the new hardpoint hill, usually when the timer is between 20 to 30 seconds. This is a basic rule that is stressed by pro players. Next one, for number 33, the number one thing I would recommend you buy to up your game is a 1 millisecond response time monitor. This will give you a huge advantage. This kind is all about timing and honestly is a game of milliseconds, so I'd focus on buying a gaming monitor before anything. And basically, quickly, if you don't know what that is, response time is what it sounds like. You see things as quickly as possible on your screen pop up, so you can imagine how much that would boost your game. As I said before, this game is about just little bits of milliseconds sometimes, so that can help a crap ton. And then talking about aim again, this is going to be very, very basic and quick. I'm trying not to make this a long video, so I'm not going to explain why to do these things, but really quickly, use aim response dynamic. If you want to know why, research it on YouTube, but this video is getting pretty long, so just take my word for it if you don't care to know why. Tip number 45, buy a headset so you can hear footsteps as well as communicate with your teammates. Tip number 46, for the last 4 tips, these are strictly fundamental things on how to play S&D well, as we haven't really talked about it that much. So for number 46, always make a plan on what everyone in your team is going to do before that said round starts. 47, learn how to cut the map. Obviously, tell people what you're going to watch, as this is part of cutting the map. Position yourself off of what your teammates are doing, basically support them in that way. Learn how to play your life like the pros do. Really rarely do they put themselves in a risky position that they don't have the advantage to win in S&D. 49, use your danger marker, I think it's called, to tell people exactly where the enemy is on the map. You do this by pressing the left D-pad on your controller. And last but not least, number 50, try to pinch as much as you possibly can. Pinching in COD means that one person comes from one direction and another person comes from another, leaving the enemy between you and your teammate. Basically, this makes it impossible for that person to kill you at the same time in that said round of S&D. Alright guys, that's pretty much it. 50 quick pro tips on how you can instantly improve at Cold War competitive. What tip did you find most helpful? Leave that in the comment section below. And if you want to learn more things that will boost your game in Call of Duty, this is a channel for you. Please go ahead and leave a like and a subscription. It's been Callouts, guys. I'm out. Peace.